I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Sarah Rumpf, contributing editor with Mediate. Sarah, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me again.
Since Donald Trump was elected earlier this month, he has been assembling his administration, and he's nominated current lawmakers, former Democrats, and a whole cadre of Fox personalities. So I want to talk with you about arguably some of the most controversial. So let's first talk about, obviously, Matt Gaetz. So the now former congressman took his name out of the running to serve as Donald Trump's attorney general on Thursday, and the move came after there was a debate inside the House Ethics Committee on whether to release a report on sexual misconduct and drug allegations against the Florida Republican. And when making the announcement that he was withdrawing, he said this in part: "It is clear my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition." What are your thoughts on the whole situation?
Oh man, it's one of those things where it's like where to begin, because this Matt Gaetz saga is so messy and so complicated and has gone on for years. And in a lot of ways, you can see why he was an attractive pick for Trump. He's been a very outspoken loyalist for the president-elect. He's very brash. He doesn't hold back when he's giving his opinions, whether it's on the floor of the House or on a conservative podcast or Fox News. And, I was just talking about this earlier with somebody. His rise in a lot of ways parallels that of Trump, where when he was in the Florida legislature, he was a lot more moderate in the positions he took. He had some bipartisan legislation, especially on issues like marijuana legislation that he was supporting. He was far less aggressive. But as he's gotten more aggressive, as he's staked out more conservative points, he's gotten more fame. They say that the higher, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And this was just a situation where it was a combination of the scandal was too messy and Gaetz has burned too many bridges. The Senate has always been the more deliberative body. They view themselves as a little more senior, the elder statesman to the rowdier House. And this kind of antics, the kind of antics that Gaetz has frequently deployed, didn't go well. And when you've got people on the record like John Cornyn, who is very senior in Republican Senate leadership, saying directly he wants to see the House ethics report, and people saying they have concerns, and we have at least 4 or 5 senators who were hard-nosed, there was no way he was going to be able to get through a nomination.
He got more fame. He also seemingly had more enemies, especially within his own party. I mean, we all remember him versus Kevin McCarthy, and he really led the charge to oust Kevin McCarthy. So we know that there were investigations into Matt Gaetz, though, involving sexual misconduct for years. So when did this become the red line for the Trump team?
There was a lot of discussion behind the scenes on that. And I think one of my colleagues, Diana Falzon, should have a report that's coming out today on some insider chatter on that, both Gaetz and Pete Hegseth had assured the Trump team that the noise was not as bad as it was going to get. And I think in some ways, you look at Donald Trump's own history of the many, many women who have accused him of various things, the E. Jean Carroll case that resulted in a civil verdict against him that he did sexually assault her and defame her. And you can kind of understand where maybe the Trump team thought they would be able to shrug this off. But, as we've seen over and over in the past, the Teflon Don ability to slink and slide out of scandal that works for Donald Trump doesn't necessarily work for those who are trying to follow in his footsteps.